So, my name is Tristan Blair. This past summer I went to Eutin, Germany, and I studied for 6 weeks in class, doing in-class sessions, and then 2 weeks of, after those 6 weeks of class, where we were able to travel, go throughout the country and see all the different big cities of Germany.
Nice. So, what was your favorite place?
My favorite place out of all of Deutschland, um, Munich. I love that country, or love that state or that city so much. It's beautiful. It has so much architecture that's just like out of this world compared to the U.S., which is a fairly young country. It has every building has significance. Just incredible.
Nice. Um, so, we are curious about what's one skill you developed or honed this summer.
Yes. So this past year, um, exiting my sophomore year, I had been going through a bit of a mental rough patch, and that was difficult, but I managed to conquer it. Going to Germany, however, was such a great experience to kind of kick me out of this funk that I was in. Um, I homed in on several skills that I had thought I had once possessed or thought I had, in the bag. I thought I had it. Those skills being my time management became a lot better. My drive or the pursuit of whatever goals I'm in pursuit of became a lot more clear, and my communication skills became far, far, far better.
Excellent. So, can you talk a little bit about your time management and your pursuit of goals?
Yes, yes, I can. So the classes we were taking, or I was taking, and just several others in the group that went over there, was in Eutin. Eutin is where I was studying, taking classes, eating food, hanging out. But my guest parents and the family I was living with, they happened to be living in a small town next over, which is called Fizzau. Fizzau is about a 15 to 20-minute bike ride outside of Eutin. And so every morning when I had to get up to go to class, I had to make sure that I had food, I had to make sure I was dressed, and just involving this necessary time constraint on like how like to get to class or how to get to where I was going was it exponentially increased like the time it would have taken me, say, here in college. I mean, I've been here for 2 years and I couldn't have figured it out, at that time period. So that time period helped me kind of put myself in a better position to then go to just doing a simple act like going to class. Translated to me coming back on time or coming back at a good time to my guest parents' house, and taking care of what needed to be taken care of, homework, eating regularly. That's not a thing I did my sophomore year, and so those things specifically, it changed completely. I now eat. I get up and eat. I get up and like prepare my day. I look at what I got ahead of schedule. I look what I got to do with class of the day, moving forward, and those things, like as simple as they sound, um, not that easy to accomplish. In regards to what goals I've been pursuing or how being over there and just doing that helped me pursue my goals, I found a sense of clarity revolving around the absence of those around me who could speak a language that I was comfortable with. Um, every day when you're going out into a country that you barely speak the language of the people living there, it seems almost as if like your mind is more active than it would be. I mean, obviously because you're speaking a completely different language, but that activity or that process of having to creatively come up with new conversations or new ways to put conversations together really kept me active like throughout the entire process, like the entire time I was over there. And something about that constant effort or work really helped put into perspective what I wanted to do when I came back to the States. Because being how I could like talk to anyone, you take for granted how easy it is to just spark up a conversation with somebody until you've been to somewhere where you are struggling to come up with conversations, like just to say like, oh, I want the macaroni or I want the soda or whatever. It's so those things really helped.
Very good. So, what was it like living with your host family?
My host family was wonderful. I love those people. Like the host family I was staying with, they had 3 children and 2 dogs, and that's like big enough as it is. in addition to that, the first 2 weeks I was there, they had another person or another guest staying with them from Italy. His name was Fabio, and became really good friends with him over the course of 2 weeks. I didn't get to say bye, which bothers me, but I hope to see him in a later time. My guest parents, their names were Sanke, that was the father of the family, and Micah, that was the mother. Micah owned a physical therapy practice in her basement, actually. So her house was like the base of operations for her little business, and then at one point she actually like had one of her employees kind of figure out some knee issues that I was having while I was over there, and that was really nice. Then there's Sanke, who I mentioned. He was the father of the family, and he worked more in selling, more in the business end of things over there, or business like administration over there. He would go and like sell different products to businesses to help streamline their workplace and stuff like that, kind of helping them out with Excel and whatnot. And while I was hanging out with those guys, a lot of the times I would come down for dinner. That would be mostly the time when I would see them and talk to them. If not, we were going on an excursion or a trip somewhere to like the sea or the Baltic, I think is what it's called in English. And so like I think those two wonderful people taught me so much in such a short amount of time. Living with them and their children and their dogs, which all had like completely separate personalities, like overwhelmed me at first. I think the first like 2 days I was there, when they picked me up a little later than everyone else, and they were rushing like to come get me back home. I was like, oh no, this is exactly like my family, and we're not that organized. I got a little worried, but everything turned out fine. The family was great. I loved hanging out with the kids. I played soccer with Eustace, which was their second oldest, and I interviewed Clara, which was their daughter, for a couple projects I had speaking with the citizens of Germany, and all of that was I think what I needed, what a lot of people need.
Nice. Do you think that the time management was really helped by being in that family unit, and they can kind of help?
Yeah, most definitely. I'd actually say yes. Something about having planned meals where everyone comes and sits down and eats. Having planned like events that you're going to, I think helps a lot, like family events or like group events, because I'm they're guests on, but so those things really do help you or help me at least to kind of get into perspective and get into the mode of being on time and being where I was supposed to, at the right place at the right time, all that stuff. Being punctual, as the Germans are very punctual people.
Great. I don't really have anything else for you.
Fertig.
This is perfect.
Yeah? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in.
Honora Maggio.
And then where did you go this summer?
I went to Hong Kong, and there I did an internship with a small nonprofit called Heroes 2, and they focused on environmental education.
Wonderful. And can you tell us about a defining moment in your host country? It could be big or small, but one that was meaningful to you.
I would have to say the most defining moment for me was, as you know, or as you may not know, there were lots of protests going on in Hong Kong during the time I was there. And I think there was this one moment that I remember. I think it was just like maybe a Monday, and I was just walking on the street with some of my friends, and we observed a nearby protest, and we kind of just like walked around. We weren't really involved in it too much, but we were able to kind of be immersed into into the protest, and it was really interesting to me. I think you could just feel the energy of like dedication and determination, and just it was really, really inspiring, I think, just to see like the power of like people's will and like them setting a goal. And like as you heard throughout the news, like throughout the weekends that they were protesting, like 2 million people showed up, and then as towards the end of my time in Hong Kong, the airports were shut down. It was just really amazing to see like the impact that people could have. And I remember specifically as well, like that day that we kind of got caught up in a protest, just seeing the flyers around. There were just different flyers and posters about like pro-democracy and like pro-China, just different flyers all around. And also like there were also flyers like reaching out to people like from the U.S., from Mexico, from like literally anywhere, and it was just asking for help and in different languages. And I thought that was really cool to see, like just see how like something so like how it turned. I think maybe like a few years ago, like this movement turned into something so big, and they're calling to help from these other nations. And as well, another defining moment, I guess, kind of to go off that, there was I guess an attack on one of the MTR stations, subway stations, and I remember visiting that station after that attack, and all over were post-it notes, or basically all over everywhere in Hong Kong, like the main subway stations, there were post-it notes with just saying different words like Free Hong Kong, and then other phrases and words in Cantonese, and it was wrapped in, I believe, like saran wrap or some plastic wrap so that people couldn't take it down, and there was graffiti and just posters everywhere, and it was really cool to see just like everything that they were able to produce and how big this movement grew within the time I was there. I believe actually like the time when I arrived in Hong Kong was right after the first big initial protest, and then ever since there I just saw it progress, and I think it was truly really impactful to me. Yeah.
Did you feel like you were really living through like a fundamental change or a fundamental time in Hong Kong while you were there?
Yes, for sure. It felt surreal to me because of course I was coming in as an outsider, and I had researched a bit, watched a documentary on the plane, like to kind of be informed, but to actually be immersed into like the people and like to hear from them what like they're fighting for. It was really interesting, and that's when I kind of realized like I am like living in Hong Kong during a pinnacle time in history, and like just to experience it was amazing. Yeah.
So it's totally shift a little bit. Could you tell us a little bit about your internship and what you did there?
Yeah, my internship was a small nonprofit. They were really focused on creating behavioral change they were targeting younger students because that's kind of where it starts. So they wanted to create behavioral and habit change for the environment. So making small steps like you taking less, not as long showers, and maybe eating one vegetarian meal a day. So just like gradual changes that will eventually turn into like a way of life, and that way of life would be like promoting environmentally friendly habits. So I did a lot of research just focusing on like how Hong Kong is doing environmentally, and like what type of changes we need to see and occur, and just kind of researching the main issues in Hong Kong as far as the environment goes. And then also broadening like to the global context, like I researched about like the US and like specifically the Midwest, which I thought was kind of cool because I'm from the Midwest, so to research about that and to bring it back to like Hong Kong and use it for like their purposes. But I also visited local secondary schools, so secondary, I believe like high school, middle school age. So I was able to sit into some meetings and meet with some administrators and teachers from local Hong Kong schools, and they were mainly focusing on like local lower ranked schools, so it wasn't like more, I guess, wealthier schools. So I think it was really interesting to kind of be able to interact with administrators and teachers and see like their passion behind like their students and their passion for what we were trying to bring to them. So.
And then can you tell us about a favorite place while you were in Hong Kong, or a favorite activity that you enjoyed?
I guess this is a restaurant. So there was a restaurant really close to where I worked or where I interned, and I guess it's pretty famous for having like the cheapest food in Hong Kong and being like really good quality, and it's like typical, like very traditional Cantonese food. And so I would go there a few times with my other interns, but eventually they left because they were a part of a different program. So I just went by myself one time, and at that restaurant, like you have to order in Cantonese, and I don't know any Cantonese, so it was a bit of a struggle. So I was just like pointing, but I don't know why I liked that place so much. I just really liked how it was very like so much culture into it. Everyone was sitting and eating, and if like I remember I was struggling trying to order, and someone helped me who was at my same table, who could translate, and he was able to help me. And I don't know, I just remember feeling very welcomed, and it just felt very, I guess, enriching. Yeah.
Perfect. So that's all the questions I have.
So, hi, my name is Natasha Lagrega. I went to Toledo, Spain, which is a smaller city about an hour outside of Madrid. And I was there for 6 weeks shadowing doctors in hospitals. So I would do 20 hours a week, so like 5 hours a day, 4 days a week, and I would rotate departments every single week. So I got to see a total of 6 different departments in the hospital, which was really cool. So.
Excellent. Can you tell us a little bit about a relationship that you formed with someone outside of your nationality while living abroad?
Yes, so I had a really special experience meeting a med student. Her name is Maria, and it was my 3rd week in Spain. I was shadowing in internal medicine, and Maria was just finishing her 3rd year of medical school in Spain, so she was in internal medicine working over the summer, just trying to get more experience. So I was with another student from my program, and we were there, and we ran into Maria, and she was like the sweetest person. She has really good English for someone who's never left Spain. She's literally never been outside of her country. But she was like so excited. She loved learning about English culture, and so immediately we just started talking about life, and before you know it, we were hanging out after being at the hospital, and she would take us to her favorite restaurants, and we would go to coffee shops. And Toledo actually had Central Perks, the cafe, from Friends. So like our first time together, we went to Central Perks, and we had like Friends playing on the screen, and we were sitting there with like little oh my gosh, what is like a frappuccino like smoothie thing, and we were just hanging out and talking, and it was like meeting myself, but from a different nationality, because we had so much in common. Like, she's so passionate about medicine. She loves to write. She's really artistic. She's just like the sweetest person. And it was really special getting to learn about Spanish culture from someone who's lived in Toledo her whole life. And even after I was finished being in internal medicine with her, the rest of the program, we would hang out. We went and we saw Aladdin in Spanish together. And even now when I came home, I talk to her every day. Like, we call, we text, I send her pictures of Kansas so she can see what it's like. She sends me like pictures of her school in Ciudad Real, which is another city in Spain. So yeah, it's pretty special. I talk to her more than I talk to people here. So it's really fun having like a best friend who's not from where I am, so.
So can you maybe talk about 1 or 2 things that you learned from her specifically, or experiences that you shared?
So this was something I kind of saw in Spanish culture, but I saw the most being with her. Spanish people are very loving. Like, when you meet people, they're kissing you on the cheek and hugging you. Like, they're really, really friendly, which is funny because they're also really direct. So they will tell you if you do something that bothers them. Like, they're very to the point, but they're really, really sweet, and it's like no big deal. So hanging out with her, it's like there was not an awkward phase of like getting to meet someone. It's like she was just like instantly so friendly and just like hugging me, and I was meeting her parents and meeting her sister and like meeting her friends, and you know, all of a sudden it's like I had this person just like 0 to 100 that I was really good friends with. So it was really cool to have that experience with her and to be a part of that really loving culture. So
Is there anything from your culture that you had trouble explaining to her, or she was curious about and didn't really understand?
let's see. I think it's just it's a little different because the healthcare system in Spain is so much different than in the United States. Like their morality about healthcare is they see it completely differently than we do. And so with like the whole universal healthcare system, kind of explaining how we do things basically the opposite, just completely different. To her and like other people in Spain that I met, that's just very wild. Like that's, you know, to them, that's not a very moral thing to not give healthcare to everybody. So kind of explaining how our system works and how, you know, neither system is wrong. They're just really different ways of interpreting it. And maybe the happy place is somewhere in the middle, something like that. So, but it was really interesting to get to talk to them about that and hear their point of view and try to explain how the United States works.
And then to completely switch directions a little bit, can you tell us maybe about a favorite place or a favorite place to eat while you were there?
So when we were in Spain, my site manager would take us to different restaurants twice a week. So we would always go to different places. One place I went all the time after we had gone there as a group was actually Syrian food. So it wasn't even Spanish. Spanish food is very good, but like I just wanted to go to this restaurant, I guess. And it was called La Casa de Damasco. And it's like you go and they have the whole like bar at the front, like you can see them cutting the meat and everything, and you sit down and you just order these like huge platters and you share them like family. So that was really cool. We also went to some Spanish restaurants. One was called La Flor. That was really good. That was like traditional Spanish food. So, and their food's just so good.
Morning. I'm Aristotle Godano, majoring in global and national studies. This past summer, I had the opportunity to go to Japan, where I was an intern with UMA, a nonprofit organization invested in providing all the kids living in children's home with computers and other electronic devices.
Nice, that's wonderful. So tell us about an assumption you had about your host country that was proven false, and a little bit about your experience with that.
I think before going to Japan, I was actually, in my mind, I will be seeing robots everywhere in the street, you know. I think that was, I'm not gonna say disappointed, but I mean, I was really surprised not to be able to see any robots in the street or anywhere else. Even the train has actually drivers, like one in the front and one in the back, which means that the perception from the outside is not always the reality once you're inside.
So you kind of thought Japan was going to be technology everywhere and you were going to see robots and that kind of thing?
Exactly.
Can you talk about maybe a defining moment in the country? It could be a big or small one, but one that was meaningful to you.
I think the most meaningful experience or the moment I actually went through was, I mean, Japan has a public transportation, like the subway, the train, and then I was really surprised to see the discipline of the Japanese people. There's nobody around to tell them what to do, just signs on the wall and on the floor. Because when you go to New York City, for example, in the subway, people don't really pay attention. They just run into each other. You know, they don't follow any discipline. But Japanese people actually go by, I'm gonna say, a military style discipline where if you're supposed to take the right to go up, everybody stays on the right. It doesn't matter if you're late, if you're in a hurry. Nobody's trying to actually jump over anyone else. Everybody follows the rules. I was really surprised about that moment.
Was there a certain situation that you were just kind of, it really made a difference to you? Maybe the subway or something else, but like where you really saw people following the rules?
Is that I think something else is I'm going to say the social structure of Japan, or the interpersonal relationships, the way they actually address each other, the way they talk to each other. Because I mean, I come from a Western African country with a different set of values. I live in the state with a different set of values, and what I can say is the way the Westerners actually deal with each other is not the same compared to other cultures. Like, for example, in Japan, people are really respectful to each other. The way they talk to each other, the way they bring a point up. Like, let's say they're having a meeting, for example, and then someone doesn't really agree with his with his counter partner. There's a way to actually request to make a request, and then explain how you see the whole thing, or the way, or your vision. You know, in the States, it's not always the same. People, I'm not gonna say rude, but because the state has its own culture and set of values, but it's really different when you go to Japan.
And then could you talk about what is one skill you developed or honed this summer?
I think once again, I feel like here in the States, people don't really know how to approach someone coming from a different culture. I'm not gonna say there's like a fear, or there's like something that retains them, but people don't really know how to ask a question or how to find out about someone else. But Japanese people, they are really open-minded. It is true that the Japan is a conservative country, but at the same time, they are really open-minded. They don't mind learning about you, where you come from, what you like, what you think about their country, and they are really kind and nice people. Always have their smile, and I think it's really important. I really like. That's something else I liked during my 8 weeks in Japan.
And then through your internship, were there any skills or activities that you really enjoyed or you thought were helpful for the long term?
Definitely. During the internship, we were pretty much running the whole nonprofit organization, because the supervisor, he's from the state, but he has been living in Japan for like 30 years now, and he doesn't have many people working with him on a daily basis. So we were pretty much running the whole organization. He will have an idea come up, and then ask us what we think about it, and then we will just elaborate. So I think this proactivity, I think I acquire a certain proactivity. I don't have to sit around and wait for my supervisor to tell me anything. I can just go on the file, go in the database, and then see what I think can be done better, and then talk to me about it, and then from there we move on. So I'm going to stay proactivity for sure.
So it sounds like you had a lot of flexibility, but then also a lot of responsibility. Did you like that, or did you think it was a little overwhelming, or?
To be honest with you, the first day I felt a little bit overwhelmed, but the more the days were going by, and then I just got used to it, and then I told myself, like, it's a lifetime experience. You're just here for 8 weeks, so you gotta make sure you learn everything you can, and then give everything you have, and make sure you have a positive impact on your supervisor and on the NPO as well. And I was really glad, because on my last day of work, we actually had a one-on-one lunch, my supervisor and I, and he told me that he was really impressed by my work ethic, impressed by the way I see things, and that I actually exceeded his expectation. So I'm glad I got the chance to. For me, it was more a learning experience than something else.
And then the final question, to think about a relationship that you form with someone outside of your nationality or culture while living abroad.
Yeah, I think it's really funny because the house where we were living, there were several students from multiple backgrounds, people from Norway, from Korea, from China. I actually got very close with a student from China who lives in France, which is really good because I come from a French-speaking background, and then we got to really bond and then share a lot of stuff. So I'm really glad about that aspect of the internship. Now I have more friends on Facebook and on Instagram, people from different countries, people from all over the world, and I really enjoy my time in Japan.
So your Chinese friend that you made, is there one specific incident that you were really able to share your different cultures with each other that comes to mind?
I think wherever you go, you feel like the American culture still dominates because we'll be having let's say we'll be having a discussion about a topic, and then I'll be quick to say, okay, in the States, for example, and then I think the U.S. is kind of like remain like a cloud over my head the whole time I was there. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but this is where I live, and then I'm so much Americanized now that it's kind of like reflect on everything I do, everything I say. But overall, I think the main topic we actually went through was the situation in China with the Uyghur, they call them, where people are put in camps.
Re-education camps
Yeah.
is what they're calling.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that she, because she's a female, she disagreed with what's going on in Japan, because she actually went on the internet and then pulled up an article, and then a student from Great Britain, someone else from Australia, and myself were sitting around the table, and then we had a quick discussion about it, and we were all on the same page, include the Chinese student as well. We all disagree with those camps and the way those people were being treated in China.
So to completely shift a little bit, can you tell me about a favorite place or a favorite place to eat in Japan that you enjoyed?
I don't know if you remember, but before, when I was here last time, I told you about my allergies to seafood and all. The first few weeks, I got really sick. I'm not gonna say food poisoning, but my body wasn't reacting right to the Japanese food. But what's good about Japan is like there's like a real diversity in terms of food, in terms of restaurant, in terms of anything you want to eat, you can find in Japan. However, I need to tell you that there's a spa in Shinjuku, which is called the Peace Alley. It's like I give it in my hand, but bigger with small alleys where the people sell street food. You got people from Cambodia, people from China, from Korea. So you get the chance to actually taste a broad variety of food. So if you ever get the chance to go to Japan, this is my recommendation. Go to the Peace Alley in Shinjuku.
Great. So I think that's all I have.
Okay.
So
How was it?
it was good.
Oh, sure?
Good, yeah.
Hi, I'm Caroline Huan, and I went to an internship in Singapore.
So talk to us about what is one skill that you developed or honed this summer?
So I think one thing that I really learned is how to deal with criticisms and how to not be so hurt or like easily defeated by them. Because before the internship, I don't think I got as many, like my background growing up, my family was always very supportive and encouraging, always positive. And like most of my experience, I think also because I'm a perfectionist and like mostly a very good student, so I don't receive like criticisms a lot because I don't make as many mistakes. So I was always afraid of making mistakes, or like if I get a criticism, I get very, very hurt, and I just like want to cry. But during this internship program, my boss was more of a critical person, and when I did something wrong, which happened a lot since I was like an intern and I didn't know anything, so I was like learning, right? But so he would give me criticisms a lot after if I did something wrong, and besides like just teaching me what to do so it would be right next time, he would add on some like kind of meaning or hurtful comments, and that really, like, I just wanted to cry every time after I did something wrong and I talked to him about it. So, but then like after that happening for quite a while, I mean it was like two months. So after a while, I kind of started getting used to them, and I think it really helped me like build up that resilience and be able to accept criticism in a more positive way, and like that I would like know that, oh, I'm just like, don't think about how hurtful it is, but like just thinking about how I can learn from what he has told me, and like even though it's critical, it's still like helpful in helping me to learn. And I think I'm a stronger person, and which I think like is very good, because we all make mistakes, and it may be hard to like be afraid of making mistakes or be afraid of trying something, like because we might be afraid we will make mistakes. But then because of this experience, now I can be braver about trying new things and not be as afraid about making mistakes, because even if I get criticisms, I will know like, oh, I just have to do it better next time, and like take it in as a way to like learn and improve. And I think this relates back to something I learned in my leadership program. It was about looking at things as like a SMART experiment. So then it's kind of like, if I did something wrong this time, I will just do it and try it in a different way, like a different experiment next time. And so I guess taking in criticism as a way of like how I can learn from them and I can do better next time, and like when I'm doing a new experiment.
How will this experience abroad affect the rest of your academic career at KU and beyond?
So I guess just like what I said, I will be able to. I don't think professors get all the criticism, but like, if I would be braver, I think, in trying new different things that I may not have been like brave enough to do. And I actually have like a little bit of social anxiety, so then I think it will help me be like, since I'm like, I guess it's like more broader in like a way of building me stronger emotionally. So maybe like helping with my emotional intelligence, like just being a stronger person inside emotionally. So like I'll be not braver to try things, and it won't affect me as much, like making me really sad. And I think especially in like the professional career, when making mistakes or like doing something wrong and being criticized, I won't like just cry and then be like down for the whole day and not want to do anything, like very unmotivated like I used to be. I think maybe it'll just affect me like for a few minutes, but then like collect myself and then think about how I can improve so I don't do it again, and then be able to do good work again and like quickly. I think that, yeah.
So you're more resilient.
Yeah, I'm more resilient.
Can you
Put in a word.
Pick one specific thing that you did and tell me about.
One specific
I mean,
thing.
you've been talking about it in general, but day to day, what was one of the things that you did? So just like pick one day and kind of tell us what you did.
Like during my
During
program,
what was
that
your
was
internship?
like critical.
No, just what you did.
Oh, that's just what I did. Oh, okay. So I was like, I was involved in these, government. So my company the company I worked for like government-related community health projects. So basically, there were like three main big ones, but I was involved in two big ones during that time. So one of them was like doing cooking demonstrations. So we would go to different resident communities. They were called RCs, and then do like follow these really healthy recipes made by the government, and then cook in front of them, and then tell them like these health nutritional facts, like basic health nutritional facts during the time we were cooking them. And then and that was basically for an hour at like different communities. And then we would also do these health talks. It was about like several different topics. There was like a calcium one, like how to take in more calcium in our daily life, and then like how to eat better. And like another one was like eat cheaper but also eat healthier, because we always think healthy food is really expensive. So they were trying to help with that. And there was one about like diabetes. It was called Diabetes 101. And then there was one about stroke. So like I think like stroke prevention. And there was also a fall prevention one. So but we just go to like different communities and talk about these topics for like an hour, and that was basically. And I also did admin work. So mainly going to those two like community events. But I was always paired with a dietitian, since I wasn't like, I didn't have a certification for it. But that's basically what I did. Good. Okay.
Anything you want to say about Singapore itself?
Sure. I think Singapore is a really good city. It's really clean, and it's really, really safe. And it's really nice because it's like a mix of city and nature. Since it's so small, we take like an hour tram, and then we can get to like this forest area and go hiking, and then like an hour back, you're back in like the city where all the malls are. And there's a lot of malls there. There's like one mall at every MRT. It's crazy, but it was really good. Favorite place to eat? Yeah, that's hard. They have these things called hawker centers, which have like really cheap food and a ton of different options. I really like that. But there was also this Indian restaurant that me and my friends loved so much, because they had apparently, I think, either the best naan in like Little India, which is like a place there, or like out of whole Singapore. So it had really good naan and like really good Indian food. We'd go there a lot.
Good.
Okay. Cool.
Don't stand up before you take that
Don't stand
microphone.
up. Oh.